Welcome to Your Online Reputation is Your Brand, Key Mistakes and Opportunities. I'm Greg Sterling. I've been a analyst, blogger, researcher, content creator on the topic of local and related issues for about 20 years or more. I'm currently the VP of Market Insights for Uberall, and I'm a contributing editor to Search Engine Land. Uberall, if you don't know the company, provides a suite of software tools to help brands and companies that work with small businesses manage the near-new customer journey, which includes listings management, reputation management, landing pages, and other solutions, advanced analytics. Uh, these are some of our customers, and with that behind us, this is what I'm going to be talking about today. First, brands and trust and what's happened during the coronavirus. Then I'm going to get into the subject of reviews and their impact of on local rankings, and then some reputation management best practices. And finally, I'll talk about the rise of fake reviews and what it means for the industry. So, as everybody knows, this has been a very, very difficult year. And it's kind of a cliche now, but it's sort of true that there's been some enormous acceleration of digital transformation, digital adoption in a very compressed period of time. This is just a representative example. Another thing that's happened is that the relationships between consumers and brands have been disrupted. And this is a single study from Ketchum that shows that a lot of people, large percentage of people, have changed brand preferences, are buying private label products because of economic reasons, and expect many of those changes and preferences to be permanent. So brand loyalty has been upset because of cost, because of uh, disruptions in the supply chain and other factors. In addition, trust in brands has eroded. This is from the 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer, showing that trust has declined for brands across different geographies. And this is true of most institutions in this country, as you know, the media, politics, and so on. However, and fortunately, and coincidentally for the subject of this session, online reputation reviews are one of the factors that can dramatically improve trust or can create trust if it doesn't exist. So factors like positive reviews, volume of reviews, absence of negative reviews can improve trust. Also, whether companies respond to critical reviews, and transparency help improve and boost trust. As everybody on this session knows, reviews are enormously important and influential on consumer purchase decisions. There's a whole bunch of surveys out there, and the range is really 82% to 97% of survey respondents say that reviews influence their buying behavior. And in fact, according to a study that I helped design, reviews and online reputation came out as the number one influence on consumer purchase decisions. This is important also because in most cases when consumers begin their searches, they have a problem or a need or a question, but they don't have a brand in mind. They may be looking for a product, but they don't know where to buy it. So it's very, very important to have a strong online reputation and good reviews in order to be visible and to help convert consumers online. So that gets us into local rankings and local visibility. So on the left is what Google says you should do to improve your ranking on GMB. This is quite unusual. Obviously, they don't do this about the general search algorithm, but they have done this with GMB a little bit and the local pack to help out small businesses. So complete GMB profile that's verified, accurate information, lots of content and photos, respond to reviews, and then they talk about these three factors that are relevant to improving your ranking. Relevance, distance, and prominence. Relevance is basically is the business a match for what the consumer is searching for, and that really goes to profile completeness. How much information have you given Google to understand the business? Distance or proximity is a factor that is very, very prominent, so to speak, and determinative in some cases of who shows up, but it's not something that marketers can control at all. As you move around physically in the real world, rankings will change for the same query. Indian restaurant map pack rankings will look different on one block to another block in New York, for example, potentially. Prominence is the most dense and most interesting of these three considerations or factors. This is kind of a consolidation of a lot of different things. Organic SEO plays in here. Citations and links come into play here. But reviews and ratings, online reputation, is really a central feature of this. So Google has said the review count and scores factor explicitly in your map pack rankings. Many of you already are highly aware of the local search ranking factors survey, which was started by David Mim in roughly 2008 and has subsequently been taken over by Darren Shaw over the last couple of years. This is a list of the people, the local SEOs that participate, and it's basically an opinion survey, though very structured and detailed, which factors, which variables are having the greatest influence. So what do local SEOs say about all of this? In the local pack or local finder, reviews play a significant role in your rankings, which is what Google was saying, second only to GMB, profile completeness, and related considerations like business category. For local organic, local SEO, not the map pack, reviews play a much smaller role according to the local ranking factors survey. Here's a comparison of the two of the same sets of criteria according to map pack and then local SEO, and you can see reviews and how it is perceived to influence rankings in both contexts. This reflects changes over time from the same study, and reviews have obviously gained in importance over time over the last 7 years. GMB has grown in its influence even more. This chart reflects conversion factors. So previously, and I only showed you a small selection of the results, but this is interesting and different because it talks about conversion. It doesn't talk about rankings or visibility. It talks about conversion. So what do marketers think is having the greatest impact on consumer actions, conversions? And here, the top three are all about reviews and ratings, which is different from visibility. So what you're ultimately trying to do is drive a phone call or a click or a purchase or directions request, and reviews are a more powerful influence on that. Google strongly recommends that marketers respond to reviews. It's common sense. It's advice given, it's the most basic advice. However, it doesn't happen as frequently as it should. So what Google is saying is, responding to reviews, they're not saying it's an explicit ranking factor. What they're saying is that when you reply to reviews, it creates a sort of a virtuous cycle that may help you in terms of ultimate visibility. Uberall data shows that almost 90% of consumers are more likely to shop at a store that responds to reviews. That's just a reflection of good customer service that probably manifests in other ways as well. A separate survey from review trackers shows that people are likely to shop at businesses that respond to negative reviews. And our data also reflect that clicks, directions requests, calls all go up when companies engage with their customers in terms of responding to reviews. Common sense in a certain way. This data from Yotpo shows that when review volumes increase, visibility tends to increase in organic rankings. So this is not the map pack, this is local SEO or SEO. And there's a strong positive correlation between review volume and organic traffic. One thing that I want to mention very, very briefly is LSAs, local services ads. This is becoming a bigger and bigger deal for Google, and it requires reviews and certain review thresholds to be in there. Google used to have a 3.5-star minimum rating requirement that seems to be no longer in existence. But as a practical matter, if you don't have a lot of reviews and you don't have fairly high ratings, as categories get more competitive, and you can see illustrated here in these two examples, plumbers and electricians, it's going to be nearly impossible to show up to rank in the top 3, which is really what matters here. So you're going to need a lot of reviews and good ratings to show up. So let's talk about some practical approaches here. Why do consumers write reviews? There's a lot of data on this. By and large, people are writing to convey a good experience. Sometimes a bad experience, often to make recommendations to the business for improvement. Sometimes they're being asked to do that. But the common misunderstanding is that only angry people write reviews. That's not true. People tend to write reviews when they have a good experience more often. And as you can see on the right, Yelp's review distribution indicates that it has half of its reviews are 5-star reviews, which creates other kinds of problems. But it goes to the point that I'm making, that people generally write reviews with from a good experience. Negative reviews have to be dealt with quickly. Now, this is, again, another point of common sense, but something that people don't actually do in practice. So these are two surveys. One at the top says half of consumers expect a response to a critical review within a week, and the bottom one says that almost that same number, a significant minority, expect a response within 24 hours. Now, why that's critical in particular is because if you get to people who've had a bad experience very quickly, you can turn that around. So almost 90% of people writing a negative review are open to changing that review if the business addresses their problem or issue. And that can also create a very powerful loyalty bond. It can create a customer for life. You get good word of mouth. But if you get there quickly, you can turn the situation around in many cases. Not always, but in many cases. Yet, as I said before, most businesses don't respond to reviews. On Google My Business, this is a Places Scout study of 2.4 million Google local business profiles in 2019. Only 19% of them were responding to reviews. Google is the #1 reviews platform. Only 19% are responding to reviews. That's a major missed opportunity and a major negligence. What do consumers want to see in terms of review quantity and recency? They want to see at least 10 reviews before they'll have a sense of trust in the business. They look at recent reviews, the level of star ratings, and review volumes, because that gives them a sense of credibility. There are other studies that show that people look at critical reviews also. They zero in on critical reviews to find problems. And the majority of consumers are going to want to see reviews, as I said before, recency, that are less than 3 months old. So you have to have an ongoing review program that keeps fresh reviews coming in. Most consumers are going to want to see at least 4 stars to consider the business. That's not always true in every single category, but it's mostly true. If you fall too far below 4 stars, you're going to lose out on revenue. As I said just a moment ago, Google is the #1 review site by review volume. This is survey data that shows where are the sites that people go to get review information on products or services before making a purchase decision. These are the main ones. There are obviously specialized niche sites and verticals that have reviews in different industries. Review policies vary from site to site, and you need to take a look at all of them. Google has changed theirs over time. Basically, they're saying don't gate your reviews, don't selectively solicit them, no financial incentives, no bulk solicitation, and don't have a review station at your store location. Often people are being solicited for reviews at the point of sale, being asked, or service professionals come into the house with an iPad or something like that. Those are generally not good practices. Google will give you a short URL so you can do review solicitation on an individual basis, not in bulk. This is what it looks like. I just did this in my dummy account. You get a short code, and then you can share it via social media or email, and then that's the screen that you see. it sends people right to a place where they can enter the review if you were unaware of that. So that's quite helpful. Asking for consumers for reviews is critical because most people, when asked, will write a review. And here, as I sort of alluded to a second ago, here's the most common. This is a Bright Local survey. Here are the most common circumstances where people get asked for reviews: in person, email follow-up, over the phone, and so on and so forth. It's not okay for any of these guys to offer a financial incentive or run a contest that has some sort of prize or financial reward at the end. If you get caught, it's a problem. Yelp is the strictest of all of them. It says don't ask for reviews at all. You can put up stickers. You can indicate your star rating on Yelp. But if they catch you doing something that violates their guidelines, you're going to get one of these nasty scarlet letters on your profile, which is kind of a kiss of death. It'll come down after a period of time, but it's really not something that you want. And you need to have a fully claimed and optimized profile on Yelp because lots of consumers still use it, and it ranks in Google search results. I'm not going to go into this in detail because this is something that people have encountered before, and to some degree it's common sense, but you need to respond to negative reviews. You shouldn't wait, but you shouldn't respond emotionally. You need to have an approach that is rational, and importantly, you need to acknowledge the problem and then take the review offline. Subsequent purchasers are going to look for your responses, look to see how you handled somebody's problem. So that's who you're writing for, as much as you're trying to respond to the individual who wrote the review. But take this bulk of the communication offline and offer to make it right. And you can get tons of positive and negative review templates. HubSpot has them. Lots of people have them online that can give you kind of scripted responses. Although you don't want to make your review responses too generic, because people will see that, and that will hurt you. Being authentic, being real is very important in this context. And that's very hard if you're trying to do it at scale as an enterprise with 500 or 1,000 locations. Which brings me to this piece of advice. You have to have both a strategy, a process, and a tool. You really need software to monitor reviews, and if you're an enterprise with multiple locations, to help you to deal with reviews. You have to actively manage your reputation for all the reasons that I've already said. If you delay, you don't respond to reviews, like most of the folks on Google My Business, then you're going to get into some negative feedback scenarios where people get very angry that you're not responding to them. A lot of the negative reviews on Yelp are about service. I talked to this company, they never called me back, or they failed to respond to this or that. Having good service is at least 50% of the game here. And now in the final portion of this discussion, I'm going to talk about the rise of fake reviews because it's a major problem. The scale of which is not entirely clear. We're doing some research on that right now, but it's pretty pervasive. So again, Bright Local survey data: 82% of people in I almost said 1999. 2019 have seen at least one fake review in the past 12 months. They probably have seen many more, but they don't identify them as fake because they're not because fake reviews are getting more and more sophisticated. So consumers have developed a strategy to deal with this, and I mentioned it earlier. They're looking at multiple sites to try and see a consensus. That's partly why they want review volume. They want to see recent reviews. They want to see some sort of aggregate judgment on the business so that they have confidence that it's real. If you're in travel, if you're in home services, whatever categories, people are now looking at many different sites to validate their reviews that they see on one site. And an increasing number of people are just adopting a posture or attitude of skepticism. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but fake reviews take many forms, which is interesting and something that I wasn't fully conscious of myself. Businesses writing reviews for themselves about competitors, current employees, ex-employees, paid review services, vendors of different sites, of different sorts, friends and family. And this happens quite a lot in a small business context in particular. So there are different flavors and types of fake reviews. The most common kind, according to Objection.co, which is a company in the space that monitors this, is the business owner using a fake profile to write a positive review for themselves. And then after that, review vendors that are coming from offshore places, other parts of the world. Consumers will have a very negative response to fake reviews. They won't buy the product, they'll lose trust in the brand, they'll shun the brand if they understand or if they catch fake reviews. So the consequences of participating in a reviews scheme are pretty dire. As I mentioned, Yelp, if it catches you, will brand you in this way as well. Amazon, which is in the realm of products, has tons and tons of fake reviews. There have been multiple investigations and studies that show lots of products have fraudulent reviews, but mostly trying to boost the product up in search results and also trying to convince consumers to buy it. So FakeSpot, which does this kind of analysis on Amazon, whether you want to believe these particular numbers or not, directionally I think it's accurate. 61% of electronics reviews on Amazon are fake. That seems incredible, but a lot of this has to do with the Chinese manufactured goods. In these other categories, beauty, clothing, sneakers in particular, and vitamins and supplements, very high percentages of fake reviews. And Amazon is doing some things to enforce their policies and get those fake reviews off the site, but not enough. It's also true on Google. Even local guides. There are local guides accounts that are generating reviews that are not authentic, meaning somebody who owns that account is creating reviews for businesses that they've never visited. And you can see in this particular example reviews all over the country, which is one of the ways that they detect that, geographically distributed reviews that indicate this may be a fraudulent phenomenon. So it's challenging to identify fake reviews. Here are some criteria that HubSpot recommends and others recommend. I kind of aggregated these into a list that may indicate that a particular review is fake. I'm not going to go through each one of these. One of the examples for businesses is if you don't have a customer in your database that is writing a review for you. This is not foolproof, obviously. Chances are that's a fake review, obviously. If the review doesn't have sufficient detail, or it talks about the wrong things, or if it references another business, whatever. These are all, and there's a spectrum, right? So there's intentionally fake reviews, and there are reviews that are just inaccurate. So somebody thinks you're the business they dealt with, but you're not. So how do you get reviews removed from Google? The review has to violate one of Google's policies. These are the big categories. If it's a non-customer, or if it's the wrong business, or the wrong location, or the review isn't based on somebody's actual experience, these are other reasons that you can get the review removed. You have to go into GMP in your dashboard, you flag the review as inappropriate, and you indicate why. And then you can also tag, contact Google My Business on Twitter to bring it to their attention, and hopefully the review gets removed. So this is my final slide before questions. I think it goes without saying that reviews are serious, both because they influence rankings, visibility, consumer conversions, but they offer much, much more helpful information to the business. You can get valuable product feedback, service feedback, feedback about particular locations. Are there outliers? Locations doing very well, doing poorly, and why? You can really learn things about the business that improves products, services, and even operations. And businesses that take in customer feedback and are responsive to that are going to perform better and have better loyalty ultimately. So that was a lot of material in a compressed period of time. Hopefully it was valuable, and now we can take some questions.